Hello everyone, welcome back. I am Dallas again here with you today. Today is all about the color red. Now, I wonder if you have made some assumptions that you think are just true facts. Okay, what about the primary colors? Have you ever heard that the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue? Well, what if I told you that one of those at least is wrong? That it's wrong. Because our working definition of a primary color should be that a primary color cannot be mixed. It is only existing within itself, and two colors cannot come together and make that color. Well, what about the color red? Can we make the color red? I propose to you that we can make the color red, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. Watch. You've met my friend Yellow, and I'll be using my Hansa Yellow Light again. So I'll be dipping into Hansa Yellow Light, getting a fairly good amount, putting it over in a little well. And now I have a new friend that you haven't met yet, or maybe you have. Her name is Magenta, and she lives right here in my palette. And this is actually, I think, Daniel Smith's quinacridone pink. But I'll be mixing her straight into this yellow, becoming whatever you would call this color. Would you call that color red? I think it's pretty darn close. So, we learned something new today. We learned that there are two colors that can make the color red, magenta and yellow. Now, I want you to think about the fact that when you send a print order to your printer from your computer, you are telling your printer to print all of these colors spread out onto this page if you're printing a full color something. So what printers use are the CMYK color theory. That is cyan, which is like a blue color, magenta is the M, and Y stands for yellow. The black is the K. That's the symbol for black in this system. So any print job you send to your printer is just using some combination of those four little dots of color to make all the colors that you can print. So that is one way to look at color theory, and this is why we call it color theory. We just simply don't know everything about color. So there is this system of mixing colors through CMYK, and then there is your more traditional split primary, which neither of them are right, neither of them are wrong, and I use both of them. So I think it's all good. I think you should use every bit of color knowledge that you have. A split primary is when you have two yellow colors, one warm, one cool. When you have two red colors, a cool one and a warm one, and two blue colors, a cool and a warm. So same idea, you're trying to mix warm colors, you're trying to mix cool colors. You have so many options available to you. So we have mixed quite the red here with magenta and yellow. And I would say it was about, it's not half and half, there's definitely more yellow and a little bit of magenta, but you're gonna have to play with that on your own. Because now I want to test all of the rest of my reds here on this page. And we're gonna get to know red better. So magenta and yellow was that one. This that I'm dipping into now is a vermilion. And if you don't know anything about vermilion, vermilion is a very strong color. And now that I see it right next to this one, I think it's really, really close to what we mixed here, with perhaps just a bit more yellow undertone in this vermilion. It's a very overpowering color. You'll want to be very careful with it. Whatever you mix into it, it's going to overpower. Okay, now let's go into my pyrrole red. This is, I believe it's another Daniel Smith color. And you can see So far, these reds are looking pretty similar, actually. This one is a little rosier, a little pinker. If I rinse my brush out and just quickly pull some of this down with red, you're going to want to ask yourself the same questions as with yellow. But with yellow, we were asking which yellow looks more green. That's your cooler green. Which yellow looks more orange? That's your warmer yellow. Well, with red, we're asking the question, which red looks yellower? Because as you can see on the color wheel, we've got red can either look more yellow or red can either look more purple. So the closer we get to purple, the cooler the red becomes. So think about that. That's why I'm seeing this red to be cooler and this red to be slightly warmer and this red to be kind of neutral, somewhere in the middle. Now when I put Pyrrole Orange, which I use as a red sometimes, it's a very warm red color. I'll lay that down next to this. So we got Pyrrole Red, Pyrrole Orange, Vermilion, then our other mixture. So I want to go into Crimson now. Crimson, I want you to tell me if this color is a cool red or a warm red. I'm going to lay it right down next to Pyrrole Orange. Pull it down with some water. When in doubt, just add water. I have a friend who calls this juicy. You want your color to be juicy and to really follow your brush on the page. If it's not juicy enough, it's going to look too bright and it's just going to stick to the page. You want it to really flow nicely over the page. So look at that. So when you look at that, where does it skew on the color chart? If here's our red, does it look more purple or does it look more yellow? I think it looks more purple. I would put it somewhere in between here. And this Pyrrole Orange, of course, yeah, it's right in between this hot orange and this neutral red there. So that would be a warm red. Now, before we get any further, and you, as you're making your own notes with your own palette colors, write the recipe down. You don't want to forget this step. This was magenta and Hansa Yellow Light, I'm going to abbreviate HYL. This was Vermilion. And this was Pyrrole Red. I think I'm spelling these right. This was Pyrrole Orange. Crimson. It's alizarin crimson, I believe. Alizarin crimson. And now I want to go into burnt sienna, which is a totally different animal. You'll see why. I don't think this one has totally dried. I just added this one today, so I think it's kind of gummy in the middle. So I'll pull it out here to mix it up. Reapply it here. I'm gonna add a brush full. And where would you place this on the scale? Would you call this a warm red or a cool red? Would you call it a neutral red? Or do you have another name for it? I have a name for it. looking pretty orangey to me. So I would say it's a version of a warm red. However, I would even say it's earthy. It has some earth tone to it, like a terracotta pot or clay from the earth. So this color is burnt sienna. So after you have picked out all the reddish colors in your palette, and maybe you've even tried mixing some Hansa yellow light with a little bit of magenta, trying to create a red. What do you think here? What's your favorite, or have you made any associations with red yet? This color exercise homework is going to be a little different this time. Last time I asked you to grab little samples of yellow things to lay them out from cool to neutral to warm. But in this color exercise, I want you to think more conceptually about red. We're going to kind of marry this red idea to a couple of other ideas. If you don't write yet, have your parent or your teacher or your guardian write these things down for you. I want you to think about what the color red makes you think of. Does it bring up a certain emotion in you? Does it remind you of a friend? Does it remind you of a song? Does it remind you of being embarrassed? When I think of my face going red, I think of getting embarrassed. Think about a mood. Think about another piece of art that kind of made you maybe agitated or irritated. That's my association with red. So I don't want that to be your association with red if it's not. Just really think about personally how red makes you feel and all the things surrounding that, and start writing your ideas down. So I will do that now. You and I can do that together. Okay, I've written a few things down here. So I wonder what some of your associations were. So I just really want you to strengthen this relationship that you have with red. And maybe your mind has changed over looking at some of these reds. If there's one red in particular that really inspires you, do, between now and the next video, sit down 15 minutes to do a little sketch, either with a pigment liner or a pencil, of one of these concepts or ideas that has now associated you with one of these red colors. Maybe if it's the burnt sienna, you're thinking of, it reminds me of a trip I took to the Southwest United States, and we saw a lot of this red dirt. Or maybe if it's this alizarin crimson, it reminds you of a graphic novel that had a vampire in it with vampire blood or something like that. Think of something that will kind of give you a new relationship with one of these colors on your palette. Do that sketch, fill in the color, and you can send that to me. I would love to see your work, and I want you to send that to bestowingthebrush@gmail.com. All throughout this course, if there's something that you're really proud about, or if you have a question about, or you would just like some feedback, I would love to be able to help you. Please do send it to my email, bestowingthebrush@gmail.com. Or you can use the contact page on my website. It'll get me there too. Okay, we have a wonderful spread here, and some of the things that I wrote down were irritated, danger, embarrassed, agitated, Husker red because I'm from Nebraska, anger, 99 red balloons, Chinese Revolution, blood, vampire blood, Christ's Passion. All of these things were kind of embedded in these colors for me. In the next video, we will be exploring orange. In orange, obviously, you need both yellow and red. So now that you have a stronger relationship with these two, I think you'll be super confident with exploring orange in our next lesson together. So I will see you then. Talk to you later. Bye.